Commander Alvaro Scardilli from the Argentine Navy. I'm the head of meteorology at the Naval Hydrographic Service. And I would like to start thanking Varisian team for all the support and the effort hosting this event. And especially thanks to Katie and Kerry. You are the best. Thanks for everything. I will present on the hydrological and meteorological networks where the Naval Hydrographic Service is involved. I will try to give you the size of our networks, the objectives of the networks, what do we have, why we have these networks, and what we are trying to achieve with those. Especially for the Naval Hydrographic Service, it's a very complex organization because we have a meteorology department, oceanography department, lighthouse department. All the lighthouses in the coast of Argentina depends on the Hydrographic Service. We also have the hour service. I don't know if you have that, like the National Hour Service. It also depends on the Navy. And we have also all the cartography of the South Atlantic Ocean and the Southern Ocean under our responsibility. Inside the meteorology department where I work, I'm the head of that department. I also have the Argentinian Ice Service. We have responsibilities in the Southern Ocean, in the Antarctic Peninsula and the Weddell Sea. And I also have the Navy Weather Service. It's a specific meteorological service for the naval operations. So we need data, that's for sure. We need observations, we need automatic stations in very remote places. We need oceanographic observations. We need everything we can get to accomplish, of course, our mission. And as soon as we can see, but I can start mentioning, because I remember my presentation so far. Okay, I will talk about the networks. We have 4 networks I will show you, observational networks. And I will show you some of the latest ocean observing deployments we have. I think that could be very interesting for everybody here that we were mostly focused on land. I will try to also show you what we do offshore. And the last part, I think, would be the most interesting part to talk about the challenges we are facing, the interaction with the private sector, and what do we need to continue with our work. And of course, as we talked earlier today, the partnership, the capacity building, how we can build that from the interaction between everybody here. We can talk about football too. Oh. I don't know him, so I'm from the same city, but no related.
Your presentation. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about. I'm still intrigued about the CO2 measurements. I don't know whether that's a topic that you're going to cover, and I'm still intrigued as to what the.
Okay. Yes, I'm going to mention the sensors we have installed for that. But what we are doing with CO2 measurements are in the water, subsurface, and yes, that's for a regional project, of course, international project for the IOC, UNESCO, for the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission. And we are one of the organizations that are involved in the global measurement of CO2 in the water. Sorry, that's not for operations, of course, but it's very important for the research project, for studies on acidification of the ocean, and for climate change objectives. We have 2 projects under the Ocean Decade efforts, and one of those it's called Observing Together. I'm the chair of that program, and one of the objectives, of course, is to collect all the data available, but specifically data for CO2. It's coastal stations. It's coastal sensors. We also measure during the cruises, the oceanographic cruises, but those are eventually when we have a cruise, we have instruments there, and we also measure CO2, but in the water, but not as a specific project or a specific cruise for that. We use some other cruises to accomplish that task. To measure CO2 is okay.
Just get in there. We can.
Yes, we have. Now we have something. The combination of oceanographic and meteorological data for us is vital. We need to combine both. We need to use METOC observations combined at the same time. We cannot separate the 2 components for our duties. We need to work together between the meteorology and the oceanography. Great, thank you. Okay, this is the title of my presentation, Observing Networks from Inland to Offshore. And okay, let me present you Argentina. We consider our country as a bicontinental with part in South America and part in Antarctica. With almost 4 million square kilometers continental region and almost 5 million square kilometers in the maritime region. 46 million people and a variety of climates, from South tropical climate to Antarctic climate, from the mountains to the sea. We have a variety of topography and climates outstanding. Where should I point? Okay, there. This is the first network I mentioned you, is the Coastal Environmental Stations. This is a Campbell Scientific Network with all these places with this kind of installations with to monitor multiparametric monitoring network for sea level variations, climate variability, acidification, as I mentioned before, and circulation patterns, all equipped with tide gauge, CO2 concentration, meteorological sensors, radiation, everything you can imagine is probably there in those stations, automatic stations. We already have installed. It's missing one in this. It's in Buenos Aires, in the north here. It's the first one, and then the other one already installed is here in Ushuaia. We are still in the process of installing the rest of the sensors and equipment, but we already have it in our service. The objective of this network is specifically for operations, for forecasting, for validation and verification of forecasts and models, but also for research projects and for numerical modeling or specific studies when you need a high resolution data from the coast. One of the important things to notice here is that in the coast of Argentina is we don't have many cities in this region. From over here is Bahía Blanca. It was mentioned before. The city is Bahía Blanca. From here to the south, we don't have many cities or big cities. So it's important to have as much information from automatic stations as possible. All these stations are linked to the Naval Hydrographic Service through Campbell software developed by Campbell in our servers. It's not open, it's not available open, but on request, we can give access to this data. The second network, this is the biggest one. This is from the National Hydrological Network. This is a network of different kind of stations. We have here weather stations. We have height and flow, river flow stations, hydrological information, snowfall information in Los Andes Mountains. There are a variety of equipment, brands, qualities, and everything you could imagine in this very important network. These are more than 700 stations and are constantly improving and increasing observations. This is already online. You can access each of these stations and access the data, and you can also download some historical information. The last project of this network started in 2023. It will go until next year for an amount of approximately $4.8 million for the entire process. But one of the main characteristics is that even when you need to buy an instrument to install, in some places, if the station costs 10, the logistic to deploy that the stations will cost 100. So that's something very important to notice. We have a very big region, very big country to cover. We are only talking about the continental part of the country. And sometimes you need to deploy in helicopters to very isolated places. If you need to install in the coast, even if it is isolated, you can get there in a truck or in a vehicle. But if you need to install in some regions in Los Andes Mountains, you will need more logistic than expected. So This is something very important to take into account, because when we have a lease on instruments for this network, the cost for the logistics of the installation probably is bigger than the instruments itself. That is one of the barriers we could have on this kind of networks. Somewhere. Okay, there. Federico, my colleague from Argentina, already talked about the radars. I'm going to mention about the weather station associated with the radars. Each of these radars installed by INVAP have linked with the radar several stations, weather stations, to calibrate and validate the information from the radar. This is very important for us, especially when we talk about operations or when we talk for operational forecast, for firefighting, for naval operations, for assistance in catastrophic situations or environmental situations that can be stressful for the population. Each radar, as I am showing here, each of these yellow dots are the weather stations, automatic weather station associated with the radar, for example, here in Buenos Aires. We use this information for our forecast or for our operations in, for example, in La Plata River and also in Paraná River, one of the most important rivers of the region that is very important for the trade of agricultural commodities. The CNRAME project, the radar network, increased the amount of observations in the network significantly, improved the amount of observations, the quality of the data, installing very high quality equipment all over Argentina, at least the medium and north region of Argentina. Places where we don't have meteorological data, we can access now because of this, as a consequence of the radar network. So that's also an important thing I want to remark in my presentation, because it's a consequence, it's a network that grow up as a consequence of the development of the radars. Okay, this is the last network I want to show you. It's called Roma Network, Argentine Marine Observation Network. It's mostly focused on the ocean, on oceanographic variables, mostly with moored buoys in the coast of Argentina or near the coast of Argentina to observe physical and chemical and biological oceanographic variables, also meteorological, but mainly associated with atmospheric dust transportation and studies of coastal and marine ecosystems. It's mostly an oceanographic network, not already deployed completely, but increasing. One of the characteristics of this network is that all the equipment is built by the universities or the most of the equipment, not all the equipment, but mostly they are built here at the university in Bahia Blanca. They build their own equipment, their own sensors for this oceanographic network. And last but not least, oceanographic or ocean observing. We don't have a system as the global ocean observing system, for example, but we are growing in the ocean observations. Two examples here. I want to show you the deployment of ARGO floats in the Southern Ocean. We deployed 3 ARGO floats this last summer with the collaboration of the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution and some others that also were involved in this project. We used the icebreaker Almirante Irizar for that during the last summer cruise. It was a very big challenge for us. The last deployment of ARGO float from Argentina was in the 90s. And we also use the Argentine Navy ships to try we use them to deploy drifting buoys from different projects of universities and researchers who wants to contribute to oceanographic measurements. And so we take advantage of the Navy vessels that deploys into the sea. When they deploy, we just send them like 70 or 80 buoys that they just drop in the water. They automatically activate it, so they don't need to do anything. Just drop them in the points that we select. This helps us to increase the capacity of observations and information in the South Atlantic Ocean, one of the less covered areas of information in the world, jointly with the South Pacific Ocean. So to finish my presentation, I want to give you an idea of what are the challenges we face in Argentina, at least in my side, in the Naval Hydrographic Service. Difficulties in efficient communications. We have equipment and sensors very far away from cities, from connected areas, with no kind of cell phone signals in the ocean, no kind of communications except for satellites. Starlink is solving a lot of troubles, but so far it is still a barrier, specifically when we need to install those systems very far away in the coast, very isolated, or even in the mountains. Difficulties in the import processes. I will talk about a little bit more in the next slide, but it's not easy to import equipment to Argentina. I guess this happens everywhere. Difficulties in importing technology is not easy, but in my experience, in Argentina, it's very, very difficult to do it. So we need to have those technology in the country, or if not, we are limited to buy only the equipment that are sold in Argentina. The importation processes are extremely hard. And as I mentioned, there is a lack of data of measurements in the South Atlantic Ocean, the Southern Ocean. I can even tell it's even less information. And there is a big gap between the continental and the maritime density of observations, right? And the two final challenges: the access for new technologies. While in some places we are talking about AI, machine learning, and all kind of new developments for weather forecasting, we are still struggling with limitations on the access of technology, right? We are still limited in accessing big companies with big developments and an increase in the use of AI, for example. And another challenge is to increase the representation of private sector in Argentina. These are the companies that I found that already have a representation in Argentina. My apologies if I am missing some of you. INVAP, of course, it's an Argentine company, and these are, I learned this week that tomorrow is in Argentina. So this opportunity of being here give me the knowledge of a company that is already in Argentina and I didn't know. We work a lot with Campbell Scientific. It's our main partner there. Chartography sector also work with ESRI not the meteorology department, but some other departments in the Naval Hydrographic Service does. So far, we didn't interact with OTT Hydromet, but I talked today with them. But many of you are not here, are not in this slide, and we need to connect. We need to have a representation there, because if not, we cannot access your services. We cannot buy outside our borders directly. It's very difficult. Every time it is a lease, if an international company presents to the lease and they don't have a national representation, they will be the last to be acknowledged as a possibility. And sometimes that gives the opportunity to a less developed provider to give us services that it's not what we need. I hope you can see this point of view, right? I think we can work a lot with the private sector. There are a lot of opportunities. Offshore explorations are going right now in what it's called Cuenca Argentina Norte. It's a new oil reserve discovered in the last 10 years over here. Equinor and Shell are exploring this area for offshore exploitation. We have a lot of mining activities in Los Andes Mountain, lithium region here, the lithium triangle here, discovered a few years ago. There is a lot of opportunities and a lot of challenges here for the private sector. I would like to be your point of contact. If you want, please let me know, because we really need from the private sector to help us or to support our initiatives so far. And this is the future projects we are now working regarding meteorological and ocean observations. We are trying to develop our own HF radar network. This is very important for the measurement of waves, currents, and detection of vessels too. These are the places where we are planning to install HF radars. We are working with a university in the north of Argentina. The deployment of METSOC buoys, it's one of our wishes. It's not even a project, but we are working with the Embassy of the US to acquire so far buoys or similars. If you have another idea, please let me know. And also to increase our network in the coastal region, as we need more and more observations there. It's not enough what we install, but so far it will be enough, but we need more observations there. And with that, I think this is my last slide, if I finally get the last one. Thank you very much.
Yes, please. Oh, okay.